Good morning, lovely people. The sun is shining, your seeds are here, and so I'm going to take this opportunity to get out here and video what you need to do to direct sow the seeds that you have. It's about all you're going to be seeing with me today because it's all about the beds. Ta-da! So this bed looks huge at this angle, but it's actually about a 5-meter bed, but it's got my misfits here who are camping out at this end, who are all the things I couldn't fit in any other beds. I decided to leave them in here, and so the actual space I've got to plant in here is about 4 meters, so I'm going to call it 3 meters 90. And to save on any complications with the sums, I'm just going to divide this bed up, and I'm going to grow rows that are 30 centimeters apart, just for ease and convenience and for simplicity of numbers. So that means I can have 13 rows because I grow my rows that way across. I'll show you in a minute. And the reason for that is that the sun goes all the way across there. So this bed is south facing. So what I'm going to do when I plant my seeds is I'll grow the tallest ones on this row, then the next tallest ones, then the next tallest ones, and the next tallest ones, all the way down the bed, so that the smallest ones are right at the end there. And as we do that, I'll talk you through it in case you, well, it's a great idea to do the same, otherwise you're going to find the smaller plants, the taller plants overshade the smaller ones and they don't grow as well. Okay, so the next step, first thing I've done, by the way, is this is a raised bed. So we built it out of some pallets that we got off a neighbour, filled it with cardboard, or a layer of cardboard, soaked it with a watering can, made sure it was really soaked, and then put compost on top. That's all I've done, and a little bit of straw in there as well. And then I've raked it this morning, so it's completely as fine as I can possibly get it with the raking, and as smooth as I can possibly get it as well. So that's my base that I'm going to start on. And the next thing I'm going to do is mark out the lines, because I do like a straight line. So here's what I've done to mark the beds out. Normally I use bits of string, but then I remembered Monty Don last night on Gardener's World and realised I didn't need to do that. So what I did is I went along, and every 30 centimetres I just put a little mark on the wood, right? So I marked it out 30 centimetres on each side. And as I go down and do my planting, what I can do is I've found this old bit of wood. I'm going to put it across the beds. Terrible filming with my shadow. Put it across the beds like that. And in a moment I'll show you how we're going to make a drill along the side of the wood so we know it's in a straight line. I've literally just matched up the marks on each side so I know it's in a straight line. And I'm going to put a drill in, which is a little dint in the soil all the way along, and I'm going to sow the seeds in there. And I'm going to go and show you if there's anything special you need to do with each of them as we go along. But the other thing that I've done is just to make sure that I don't suddenly get to the end of the bed and I'm missing a row for a plant, is I've been very organised and figured out the order of all the different plants, which I will post below this video in terms of height order. And I've actually created all the labels and stuck them in all the way along, so that I know it's very easy for me to now go along and plant on each one, because I know exactly what's going where. I'm leaving a space. I'm going to leave a space for my zinnias, a space for my cosmos that are growing inside. So I've actually got 13 rows here and 13 different things to plant, which has worked out very well. Now, if you don't have this much room, don't worry about it, because where I'm going to plant a whole row in a minute of gypsophila, I'm going to do a whole row of pink and a whole row of white, because I just love those flowers. You might do half a row of pink and half a row of white, right? Like you might do a third of pink, a third of white, and something else, depending on what you can get in your beds. Now my beds here are 1.2 meters wide, and I've built them that way specifically because A, a lot of pallets come in that size, and B, because it allows me to get 4 rows in if everyone is 30 centimeters apart. And before I was struggling because I was only getting 3, but now I can have 4, and so it just makes for more spacing available in the beds. So, but you've got to work with what you've got, right? So eventually most of these plants you're going to end up spacing out to be 25, 30 centimetres apart from each other. We're going to sow the seedlings, and then you're going to end up just getting rid of the ones that are not as strong, and so that you're spacing them out so that you've actually only got 2 or 3 or 4 of each plant. You're not going to need more than that. You know, we're not mass scale flower farmers here. We're just getting enough so that we can fill our bouquets. So let's start with sowing the seeds. Okay, so okay, hello. I have the camera position like this so you can see my hands rather than my face. So be really careful when you get these seeds out. You don't need to sow them too thickly. In fact, you haven't got, you know, gazillions of them to sow. So I'm just going to pour some into my hand here. So I want to be a bit delicate with them. I don't know, I've got this many to start with, right? So a little handful there. And I'm going to make a little line in the soil just as a marker for myself. But actually, and I'm just going to use the dibber to do that actually, you know, the plant label. So I know where I'm headed, right? But with these Gypsophila, they don't like the dark to germinate, they like light. So what we're going to do is we're going to sow them, just sprinkle them really thinly along. You know, there's so many seeds here and we literally only want like 4 or 5 plants along this row in the end. So, and because we're using mould seals, the germination should be really high on what we're doing here. So a couple more for luck. Now if you've got vermiculite, what you want to do is sprinkle a little bit of vermiculite along the top, which I'm going to do just now just to show you. And then if you haven't, don't worry, but just leave them on the surface because they need light. If you cover them over or bury them deep, they don't like it. So I'm just going to make sure that all my seeds go back into the packet. Yeah, don't want to waste any seeds because we can use them next year. We can give them away to people. And actually these little babies, you can sow these if you've got room. You can sow them every 2 weeks through the summer to have a continual flow of flowers all the way through the summer. These are great for that. These and the white ones obviously as well the same. So I'm just going to grab my vermiculite. Dog's in shot like I am on Gardener's World. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this across the top. Now this just gives them a little bit of covering without covering them over like soil would, right? And it also means that when I water them, when I water all these seeds in a moment, they don't going to get washed away because they are tiny, these seeds. Right? They won't all get washed away because the vermiculite kind of holds them in place a little bit. But it's worth getting hold of some of that because it's great when you're sowing your seeds inside as well to put a layer of that across. So I'm going to move on. So I'll get my label, stick it in so I don't forget what's there. And I'm simply going to move the board up here. It's good for the back this. Get it in a dead straight line. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with the white Gypsophila because that's going next to this in this row. So I'll pause it now and then I'll come back to you with the next seeds. Okay, you can't see, but I have actually left a gap for the Cerinthe, which we're going to grow inside just to start off with because they like quite a warm temperature for the seeds to germinate. And I've left a line for the zinnias as well, so that when they have grown inside into nice little seedlings, we can plant them out after the last frost date has gone. So apologies for the light now, it's hard to do this when the sunshine is out. So next I've got Orlea. Now these little things, again, they like to grow in the light, so you can just lay them on the surface, right? If you can see, they're like little weird creatures, like little bugs. I think they're very cute. And I'm just gonna pop it on the surface there, drop it on the surface. I mean, you could probably just put 4 of those in and hope that your germination was that good that they all come up. I'm not quite that brave. So I'm going to I'm just going to put one in every few centimetres. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. About every 10 centimetres, and I'm just dropping it onto the surface here. And my soil is already quite damp because it was raining a lot yesterday. But I am going to water the whole bed in a minute when I finish planting them up. There's a big lump there in the compost, so I'll avoid that bit. My goodness, if these all germinate, I'll have like 10 plants, right? But the good thing is maybe not now, but the good thing is that in other days, at other times, maybe even by the time these come up, we might be able to be out and about a little bit more. So that means that we could be gifting these to people, these little seedlings, to other people that don't have the time and patience to grow these from seed, but would really appreciate the flowers themselves. And maybe even at some point, the people who we are growing the flowers for may be able to get involved in some of the growing process with us, like propagating seeds on their windowsills and all that kind of thing. I have big plans for all that coming up. So again, now you can just leave those on the surface, or I'm going to put a layer of vermiculite along these, and then we're going to move on to the next one, which is cornflowers, in just a moment. So the great thing about these boards means it stops you from standing on the bed. So you don't want to stand on your beds and compress all that soil. You know, firm soil is good, but trodden on soil, not so good. And especially when you've got plants in there, you do not want to be disturbing their roots by standing all over them. So this is a workout for the thighs, it has to be said. The other thing, just seeing the wind blowing at the moment, if it's pouring with rain, or really, really windy, probably not the best time to try and sow your seeds. Now, you might not have a choice if we just get a totally rainy month. But if you can grab your moments of sunshine, if you can be really prepared and ready to go as soon as there's 10 minutes of sunshine, then run out into the garden and sow as many seeds as you can. Yeah, you can see what happens if it's windy. Then all of this is just going to blow straight away, and you won't have your seeds in lines, and you won't know what's a seed and what's a weed if you're growing straight into the ground. And this just makes the whole thing a lot easier and more pleasant when the sun is shining. So next is cornflower. I've got cornflower black written on the packet of these, but I think I might have mixed them up while I was doing all your seed packets. So this might actually be cornflower white, but when they come up, I'll just swap the labels around and pretend it was always supposed to be that way. So with these ones, you can plant them, right? So not just sprinkling them on the surface, but let's get their little thing. I'm going to make a little, what's called a drill. I mean, people use hose and stuff to do it all properly, but I'm just going to do it with this. So I'm making a line along, all the way along like that. And sprinkle my cornflowers in. Again, these things grow like crazy. They take a little while to germinate, and then they're pretty hardy. So I think we don't need that many of them, because again, remember, we only need 4 plants out of all of this sowing in this size bed. A few more just to be on the safe side. Now, because I'm a new gardener, I oversow everything. So that's why I've got extras of everything, and it's why I keep having to buy compost for new beds for all the plants, because I can't bear to throw them in the bin. I really can't. It upsets me. So now when you've got them like this, maybe you can see with the light here, I can move this out of the way now a little bit. I'm just going to cover them over. So I just kind of pinch the soil, just lightly covered, right? They don't want to be deep, deep, deep in the ground. They need dark, but they need warmth, right, from that sunshine that's here. Right on cue, I can hear the van coming with the next load of compost. I can build another bed. So I'll pause the video here. But you're just going to do exactly the same thing. Make sure you put your label back in. Exactly the same thing with the other cornflowers next to it. Okay, or if you're splitting it in the rows, half a row of this, half a row of the other one. Okay, so this one's called Centaura or Centaura, and it's a perennial, which means it's going to come up every single year. The rest of what we're planting here is our annuals, which means that they will grow. We are late planting them, I have to say, but they will grow and should flower in about 12 weeks time. And then you'll cut them all back and you'll need to re-sow again. But what we can do is we can sow in September and be ahead of the game this time, so that we can have a very, very early spring flowers next year with really healthy, good plants. It's great to plant these plants if you've got seeds left over in September, and we'll be doing that together. I wasn't gardening in last September, so I don't have any for this year. But these things will come up over and over again. If we like them. If we don't like them, it's the first time I've planted these. If we don't like them, we'll just dig them out and we'll never see them again. But I wanted to include them. Oh, they've got a beautiful name. I can't remember what it is now. I'll look it up for you. But they grow about 70 centimetres high and they're supposed to be really good for cut flowers. So I thought we'd give those a go as well. These have to be planted 5 millimetres deep. Again, in rows 25-30 centimetres apart. So similar to what we've just done with the cornflowers, I'm just going to make a drill in the ground. I'm going to sow some of these seeds and I'm going to cover them over as we did before. So we're just going to carry on down the beds now and plant all in the same way as we've just done, with all the seeds that we have remaining in the rows, in the order that I'll put underneath this video, so you don't have to watch me painstakingly plant every seed. The only one that does still like light is Orlea. When you get to that one, again, sprinkle it across the surface, put it under a layer of vermiculite. That'd be brilliant for it. One of the things I did want to say is that gardening is very experimental, as I'm finding. And loads of what I might be over sowing, but loads of what you plant will either fail to germinate. Actually, my germination rate's pretty high, but some of them will fail to germinate. Some of them will get eaten by slugs. Some of them will get eaten by birds. I've had that happen. Some of them will get eaten by rabbits, deer, if they're out here in the field. I know people that have lost like 75% of their crop to pests in their first year. So it's, oh, my legs. It is a learning process, right? And it's a process of experimentation. And I'm just saying this because I don't want you to get discouraged. Or rather, I know you will get discouraged, because I was heartbroken when all my Nigella got eaten, and I was like, oh, I can't do this is stupid, what am I thinking of? And then you kind of brush yourself off and get back up, and this is an experimental year, so we are going to make mistakes, all of us together. And if you're an experienced gardener and you happen to be watching this video, God bless you, and I'm doing things wrong, just tell me. If you can see things that I could do that are better, just let me know, because I'm doing this for the first time as well as the rest of you. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on planting. So I just wanted to drop that in about not getting discouraged, seeing this as an experimental year. We may or may not be allowed out to give our flowers to the people we want to give them to, but kind of even better, right? We get to play behind closed doors and then we carry on all the way through the year. There are things to sow every single month of the year that can make sure that we've got flowers as much of the year as possible. And we're going to keep learning as the whole year goes on. And when we come to year 2, we're just going to do it so much better. So I just wanted to say that. So I'm going to get on and sow the rest of these in, and then I'll show you what it all looks like when it's finished. So here you are. These are all done now. And see the 3 with the vermiculite. So I am going to go down and with a very fine rose on my watering can, just like a sprinkly baby shower, I'm going to go and water each of those rows. If you haven't got anything that can water delicately, I have been known to use my kids' sports cups, you know, those drink cups with a little squeezy lid thing on the top, and I hand watered, especially when they're tiny little seeds like this. Now these are going to take roughly, most of them, about 12 weeks, and then they'll be flowering. So June, July, like August time. Good thing none of us are going on holiday this year, so we'll be able to look after our plants. Gosh, it's worked out very well, hasn't it? And but they might take, so some of them will take 7 days, some will take 14 days, some of these are going to take a month to germinate. So don't give up on them too soon, right? Just leave them in the ground. This is our experiment. Let's see what happens, and hopefully by August this is a beautiful bed of colour. Now remember, I've left a row for my Cerinthe, which I'm going to grow inside. Just look at the zinnia and the cosmos video for how to plant those little seedlings, and I'll do the same inside, and then we'll watch those grow together. Then we'll plant those out when they're a bit bigger, and the zinnias and the cosmos will come out here once they've had a chance to grow into strong little seedlings, and once the last frost day is over, and then this will hopefully be a bed of colour. I actually am going to I'll put a photo on the end of here, a cloche over my bed, because we have so many deer in this garden and they are going to love things like cosmos. And so I'm going to put a cloche over, especially while they're just getting going with my little seedlings. I want them to be as protected as possible. Gosh, how embarrassing to turn up to all the follow along videos with you and have nothing that's growing because it's all been eaten. So you can do that. I'll put it up, I'll show you. Mine was about 20 quid or something off Amazon. But it just means that there's that little bit of extra protection. I can see the birds all coming closer as they look at this tasty looking seed on the ground already. So I'm going to get on and do that right away before they get over here. If you haven't got a cloche, right, and you don't want to buy one, stick some stakes or some posts or some bamboo poles and stick some old CDs or DVDs or something, tie them on the end. Get some of those, if your kids have got one of those whirly round windmill things, stick those in, anything to keep the birds off while your seeds are just seedlings and they're trying to get going. So we'll come back and check in here in a couple of weeks' time, and by which time you should have planted all yours up, and we'll be growing together.